Writing is by far the most common way to turn thoughts into language. And by writing, I mean pen and paper, typing, texting, and nowadays, with modern smartphones, dictation. Writing, after all, is really just any form of turning thoughts into words and into sentences. My personal favorite way to do that these days is to dictate my thoughts on my iPhone, my iPad, or my MacBook. I can type pretty efficiently, but dictation is still much faster. I can literally turn my thoughts into written words at the speed of thought. Very efficient. But there are two more powerful ways of turning thinking into language: audio taping and videotaping. The region colored in gray on this slide is the temporal lobe of the cerebral cortex. This lobe houses the auditory processing and language processing functions in the brain. It is in this region that the brain produces spoken language and processes everything else that we hear. This is a relatively large region of the brain that we definitely want to bring into the fight. Studies have shown that auditory processing can command a whopping 37% of the brain's processing power at any given point in time, and video processing kicks that up to almost 70%. One such study was conducted by the Center for Cognitive Imaging in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The study was designed to isolate the effects of cognitive distraction solely due to language processing. Participants in the study steered a simulated vehicle along a curving virtual road while listening to spoken sentences, delivered via a hands-free headset, which they then had to judge to be true or false. This research design effectively eliminated distraction due to visual or manual factors. Participants experienced a 37% decrease in driving performance due to the cognitive distraction of language processing alone. This study clearly demonstrates that the power devoted to interpreting spoken language takes up over 1/3 of the brain's entire processing power. So to make use of this processing power, I had John create an audio-taped version of his antonym library, one that he could listen to. I had him simply create a voice memo on his phone that he could listen to any time he wanted to. It's a great tool to make use of in the white spaces of our day, while you're exercising, during a long commute, waiting in line, or sitting in a waiting room. There are lots of white spaces in our days to sit back and listen to these newly created thoughts. On this slide, we bring in the occipital cortex, the peach-colored region at the back of the brain. This region is by far the most complex of the sensory systems. Neurons devoted just to visual processing number in the hundreds of millions and take up about 30% of the entire cortex, as compared to 8% for touch and 3% for hearing. Each optic nerve consists of 1 million fibers, compared to the mere 30,000 fibers in each auditory nerve. The brain must process an immense amount of visual information just as fast as it can, hence the need for such powerful machinery. Tapping into this region is extremely powerful. Just how powerful? Well, one claim on the internet is commonly credited to Fred Barnard, and he says that 1 minute of video is as powerful as 1.8 million written words. Now, there's no real research to back that up. In fact, it's just an extrapolation of the statement, "A picture is worth 1,000 words," which is an old Chinese proverb. 1 second equals 30 pictures in video media, 30 frames per second, times 60 seconds equals 1,800 pictures, times 1,000 words, bingo, 1.8 million words. So this statement, often quoted, should really be prefaced by the statement, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a minute of video is worth 1.8 million. So, if not 1.8 million words, then how much is a picture really worth? Well, Nicholson Baker, in his 1983 investigation of the size of thoughts, did a rather ingenious experiment. He had participants describe in words the same information that was expressed in a single diagram by another participant. From the average number of words used by participants to describe a single diagram, he calculated that a picture is actually worth 84.1 words. Therefore, 1 minute of video is actually worth about 150,000 words. 30 times 60 times 84.1 equals 151,380. Still very impressive. Add to this the fact that 93% of communication comes from body language, then a videotape becomes a literal juggernaut of information streaming into the brain. One more cool little feature in the brain, dubbed Hebbian plasticity, named after Donald Hebb, the Canadian neuroscientist that observed it in the 80s, says that when neurons fire together, they wire together. Thus, when we view a videotaped rendering of positive, anxiety-neutralizing thoughts, we literally fire every circuit in the brain that was used to create the clip from start to finish. A nice little bonus. On the following clip, video 7, I will show you an example of John's video.